Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by, as always, man. So, you guys know we got the Speed Chess Championship that's been rolling. It's going to pick up coming up pretty soon. But I'm going back grabbing some of the games that they played there. And I do have Denis Lazavik versus Hans-Moki Niemann. And this is the sixth game that they played, Blitz. You guys know probably that they played Blitz first and then they played Bullet right after that. So this is one of the initial Blitz games that they played. It's a pretty nice one. It's nice and short and sweet, man. I know you guys want to go ahead and absorb my video and go on about your day, man. So let's get you rolling. All of my people that are coming from the Philippines, I will say salamat, of course, as always. Anybody coming from America, I will say thank you very much. And anybody coming from Belarus, I will say ejaculate. Now, if I didn't say that correctly, feel free to hop on and say, hey, man, I speak Belarusian. That is not correct. But that is my best attempt at saying thank you in Belarusian. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and take a look and see what we got for this game, son. All right, man, so we got the move C4. This is famously, as some of you guys might know, you might have heard of Bobby Fischer. He did play this in one of the games between him and Boris Spassky back in 1972. 1,000 years ago. Anyway. So it definitely took him by surprise. I don't think it took Hans Niemann by surprise. He's like, I know what I'm doing, bro. So we do see the move C4, and this is the English opening. And then we just see a simple C5, and this is just known as a symmetrical variation. Not really a whole lot of name dropping to it. We do see the move G3. We got G6. We got Bishop G2, Bishop G7. Knight goes to C3, Knight to C6. So pretty much so far, Hans Niemann has kind of somewhat copied what Denis Lazavik has been doing. I mean, it's pretty solid play for both sides. I mean, it's like, as Maurice Ashley would say, triple zeros. You know what I'm saying? Nothing too crazy going on here. We do see the move B3, and we're basically asking Black a question. I think some of you guys might be looking at this like, hey, man, you can take here and you can double, you know, White's pawn structure. Yeah, but see, the problem is you're probably going to be castling on this side. This bishop is really, really good at protecting the king all around these dark squares. So you don't really particularly want to give it up. So we do not see Hans Niemann give it up here. We do just see the move knight to f6. We got bishop b2. So we're just continuing to develop. We got castles by Black. Knight goes to h3. And something I wanted you guys to notice that I thought was kind of funny. It's not super relevant to anything, but I mean, look at this, bro. The bishop and the knight are literally the same. Of course, this one is on the rim, so it couldn't be grim. Generally, it wants to kind of be right here, but it's not the end of the world for it to be where it's at. We got the move b6, so continuing somewhat symmetrical. We do see castles by White. Bishop goes to b7. We got the move e3, and then we do see the novelty of the game, which is the move e5. You don't particularly want to put a pawn right in the way of your bishop. But like I said before, one of the major things that your bishop is kind of doing is protecting the king. So it's not so terrible that you have kind of blocked it here. Also, if you can maintain this pawn, you have kind of blocked White's bishop also. So it's not all bad. We do see the move a4. And something I kind of wanted to mention with this, I mean, you know, you're kind of breaking on this pawn here. But one of the more important ideas that you kind of have is pushing f5 and trying to rip apart this protection in front of Black's king. It's basically kind of what's known as a hook. You're kind of going up here and kind of hooking onto, you know, this fianchetto position. A lot of the times you'll see people go like h4, h5 and do the same thing. So, you know, that's kind of how things go. We do see the move d6, trying to keep things solid. We got the f5 I was talking about. We got rook to b8. We got the move g4. And then we do see a very cautious knight to e8 move. You're basically saying that you don't want g5 just to come and knock this knight. If we saw, okay, so going up here, if we saw the move g5 in this position here, like kind of continuing with the plan, right? You would actually be seeing this move here, and then the rook would take, and you see that this kind of changes the structure a little bit. So going back, if we do not do something with this knight here, once g5 does come here, it would be a different situation because you don't have the ability to like toss this move in between because you would just be losing your knight, and that's not what we're trying to do, right, at all. So we do see knight going to e8, just kind of backing things up. We do see knight going to e4. We see the move d5, which kind of seems like, hey, man, it's maybe displacing this knight or it's, you know, forcing White to try to take right here. But that's actually not a bad thing. We got pawn taking d5 and then knight goes to b4. And I will mention this later, this knight right here. Seems like it's good. Maybe you got like some little threats going on and stuff like that. But like I said, you will see in a second, you know, what's going on with that. We do see the move G5 here. And we actually see the move F6, which the computer just completely hates because it's basically saying that you're putting all of these pieces. You're just kind of throwing them, you know, kind of from in front of your king. So, I mean, if these pieces kind of get, you know, erased off the board, your king is like, bro, what am I doing over here, man? I'm scared, bro. But backing up, you know, some of you guys probably are looking like, hey, man, you know what I'm saying? It's nice way over here. Like, isn't the whole idea to try to kind of go after this pawn at some point? So let's just kind of use like one of the moves, for example, knight takes d5. Well, the thing about this situation is you would be looking at f6 and then bishop going to h8 and then bishop taking e5. And not only have you just grabbed you a pawn, but you basically made it to where this bishop is like the worst bishop in the history of bishops because, I mean, it's literally on its only square. So don't make your bishop go back to its only square, bro. So that is why we did not see that. We saw f6, kind of trying to keep things open, at least for the bishop. We do see pawn taking g6, absolutely the best thing that you want to be doing. We do see pawn taking g6, g taking f6, and then we see knight taking f6, and then we do see knight e to g5. Now, something that was actually just a little bit stronger in this position. Now, I mean, it makes a lot of sense why you go knight e g5, right? You're like, hey, bro, can I just plop down and I could just win the exchange? Well, I mean, probably you're not probably going to see all of that. I mean, you know, Hans Niemann is going to say, hey, bro, I'm going to defend against that, bro. You're not doing that over here. But after we saw knight takes f6, if you did see knight taking f6 for check, the rook would be taking, you got queen going to g4. We would be looking at maybe bishop c8 and then queen going down to g3. And one of the things I want to mention is how active white is compared to black. Now, of course, you had this knight way up here before, so it was like your pieces were kind of passive. You had somewhat of a good bishop, but you got the rook over here and stuff. If you notice, you know, black kind of has everything kind of geared towards the king side here and this king. If you can get this pawn kind of out of the way, then you are sitting pretty, and this rook can swing over, stuff like that. So, I mean, from a logical perspective, white is definitely doing a little bit better than black. And, I mean, this is kind of a recurring thing. You know, this e5 pawn is just kind of the trouble piece if you are black, and it'll come up in a second. After we saw knight e to g5, we did see bishop taking d5 because black is like, basically like, man, I could get my pawn right now, right? Not quite, man. You do see the move e4, and this does back the bishop up. We do see bishop going back to f7, and then bishop does take e5 right now. Like I was telling you guys before, this is pretty much like always a problem piece if you are black. So what I was talking about earlier, if you can hold this piece, that's not kind of what happened. So things are a little bit coming unraveled. We do see bishop going to b7, which is a very somewhat dangerous move, though, because if this pawn can ever move, this bishop is going to be saying hello to this rook, like, how you doing, bro? So to start that off, we do see the move bishop back to c3. It's just a somewhat active move. You are kind of threatening this knight a little bit, but more importantly, you're trying to get this pawn rolling. You can definitely at least go here and at least go here. Like I said, if this pawn starts rolling, you got, you know, hi, how are you with this rook? So, I mean, that's not really your ideal situation. So we see rook going to e7 right now. And we have actually reached a point in the game. There is a game-ending move. And we'll kind of go a little bit further than that. But if you want to go ahead and pause the video and try to see what move Denis Lazavik plays in this position, go ahead and do so. All right, man. So, you know, that was kind of a trick question. I mean, you pretty much, there's two main moves. I mean, obviously, you kind of see that if you do a count 1, 2, and just 1, that this knight is basically just for free. It absolutely is. But there's a big difference between how you take it back. What we actually saw in the game, and this is the game that ends the game right here, we do see rook taking f6, and it is in this position that Hans Niemann does resign the game. You're basically just down a complete piece, and there's not really any coming back here. But if we back up some of you guys might have been thinking, well, what's wrong with bishop takes f6? Well, going forward in the game that we saw, actually, if you did see this right here, you would be looking at bishop taking, and then the bishop would take, and you do have a pin, a relative pin with the rook against the queen. You can move the rook if you want to, but you lose the queen. So it's not an ideal situation to kind of be in. So that is why rook takes f6 was better. If we go and we look at, you know, what happens after bishop takes f6, you would still be winning the piece. But after the bishop took back and the rook took back, you see that now you do not have this right here. So there was definitely a better and a non-better way to kind of win the piece. So that is all she wrote for that game. Like I said, it was short and sweet. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. All my people in the Philippines. Maraming salamat the king makaibigan. Posting on Nuno of Inga King my video. Hello Ulitz. If I'm seeing you again, I appreciate it. Let me see. It was Jackui for Belarusian. Like I said, if I'm saying that wrong, holla at me, let me know. I feel like I got the pronunciation right, man, but I could be wrong, son. So let me know. And I really appreciate everybody else from around the world. And I'm going to catch you guys next time.